The Running Tree, written by Ustrea Miller, illustrated by Debbie Bowen. For North, Oren, and Eden, written with love. In a faraway land, a magical mountain overlooked the sea. On its forested hilltop stood a beautiful park where people from the nearby village loved to walk and play. In this park lived a young tree. He and his family lived on the edge of a path with a wonderful view of the water below. If anyone cared to notice, they might think he was just an average fir tree, but he was far from ordinary. His name was Windy, and he was sad. His parents worried about him. They tried to get him to notice the waves and the seals diving for fish. He preferred to watch people going by on the trail. Mostly, he liked to watch children run among the trees. One day, he asked his mother, "Why can't trees run?" "Trees are here to keep the earth in balance," she answered. "We provide oxygen and happiness for all living creatures. They run among us, and in return, they give us what we need to breathe." This answer gave Windy no satisfaction at all. Instead of making him proud to be a tree, it made him feel even sadder. Windy grew tired and weak. He lacked the will to drop his needles in the fall and make new ones in the spring. The other trees in the park began to worry about him. They were concerned that if he continued to be sad, his roots might not be strong enough to keep him standing during the long winter months when the storms blew. One early winter day, it started to snow. The children felt joyful. Windy wished with all his heart that he could have fun and run like them. An especially happy-looking girl walked by with her dog. She noticed Windy didn't look so well. She reached out with her mitten-covered hands and gently touched him. "Oh, sweet tree, what do you need to make you well again?" The young tree looked down at her and said in his mind, "If only I could run like you, I would be the happiest tree in the world." The little girl looked up with surprise. "You can talk! Wow! I didn't know trees could talk." After a moment's thought, she added, "Why do you want to run? You're a tree." Her words sent shivers up Windy's trunk. For the first time in years, he was excited. To talk to a human felt amazing. "You can hear me," he whispered. "Can you also teach me how to run?" The girl smiled. "Maybe I can. I'll come back tomorrow and we'll see. I have to get home now or my parents will worry." As she walked away, she turned and smiled again. "By the way, my name is Eden," she said. "See you tomorrow." Before he could respond, she disappeared. Although trees are well known for their patience, waiting for Eden to return was difficult. Time slowed to a crawl. Windy couldn't sleep. All he thought about was how Eden would bring him the greatest treasure he could imagine, the secret to running. As promised, Eden returned the next day. She was out of breath from running. She placed her arms around his trunk. "All you have to do is pretend you can run," she said. Feel what it's like to have your branches pulled back as you race down the path. Imagine your roots running along the trail next to people. See yourself passing your tree friends and family. Most of all, feel the joy of running. Feel the happiness of being a running tree. That's all it takes. Now it's up to you to feel like the running tree you are. She leaned back in, kissed his smooth bark, and then skipped off through the snow. After she left, confusion and disappointment set in. Wendy thought she was going to work some magic or at least give him the secret to running. Instead, she told him to pretend. He didn't want to pretend. He wanted to really run. Despite his sadness, he continued to think about what she had told him. After many days, he decided pretending to run was better than doing nothing. As the days warmed and the snow melted, Wendy drank his fill of water through his deep roots and began to concentrate on his desire. He took 3 deep breaths and thought about running. He could hardly imagine such a crazy thing as a running tree. He felt frustrated because he knew trees don't run. His desire was so strong, he didn't give up. He pictured himself moving the way people do. He saw dogs running with him. He could see the soft ground hitting the bottom of his root feet. It all felt so good. He imagined breathing harder. He saw himself going faster and faster until he felt like the wind itself. "Now I know why my name is Windy," he thought. He was free, happy, and complete. So happy, in fact, that he sang out. His singing caught the attention of the other trees. They looked at him in amazement. Windy loved how this pretend game made him feel. At first, he imagined himself as a running tree because he wanted to make it happen. Then, after a while, he played the game just to feel happy. He pretended for hours every day. Over the next few months, his trunk and branches grew healthy and strong. All the other trees were surprised how Windy was doing. He became the happiest tree on that hillside park. He found the true meaning of freedom arose from his own joy. He stood there proud and complete as a running tree. Winter ended, and the spring fairies came to draw out the new green growth on the trees. Spring had always been a joyous time because the fairies made each tree feel young and energized. When they saw Windy, they stopped and looked at each other in wonder. What they saw was not an ordinary tree at all. What they saw was a running tree. They worked their magic accordingly before moving on to the next tree. After thanking the nature spirits for their work, Windy looked down to see what their magic had accomplished. He couldn't believe it. It was exactly as he had imagined himself to be. He was now a real running tree. Sometimes, if you look very closely, you can catch a glimpse of Windy running fast through the trees or along the beach. Even if you can't see him, you can feel the wind as he runs by.